What's good, Wagering World? It's your boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada, and it's really beautiful today, man. I had to take the show outside. We got some summer weather finally touching down in Nevada. In here with my co-host, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know currently, but the fan base is growing. What's good, Spread Astaire? How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. The NBA play-in tournament starts, and of course, we've been handicapping these upcoming series. It's kind of fun to listen to NBA podcasts and content that's not just potential trades, right?
Right.
Draft picks. I mean, so much of NBA content is terrible. I think that's kind of why I have an edge in betting the NBA. The NFL, there's so much good information out there. The NBA podcasts don't even talk about the games until now. They only talk about MVP and who's going to get traded in 2024. So I'm
Right.
excited. I've been soaking in, a bunch of podcasts. You heard me listening to one right when we jumped on, and I'm excited to talk some NBA with you.
Yeah, man. It's that time of the season. It's the only time that I really like to bet the NBA. The NBA is one of those sports that's just it really doesn't even exist in my portfolio during regular season, just because the way that these guys approach the game now. But I've always been an NBA fan, man. Always been a fan of the association since a little child, and I can always remember the special games I used to watch on CBS growing up. And then it later on went to NBC, man. So I always had a lot of love for the NBA, and it's that time of the year, so we're going to get into it, man. Let's get into the past to kind of review some of the totals that we both chose before the season on wins for these
All
squads in the
right.
NBA, because now it's time to cash those tickets, man.
That's right. The first one was one of yours. We were a little worried at the beginning when the team came out hot, right? But they had plenty of adversity through the season. I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns. You had their regular season win total under 52 and a half wins. And that one got home, right? A little worried there at the beginning, but the Suns could not keep it together. Then they make the trades, and now they're one of those championship or bust teams that doesn't care about the regular season. So that one
Yeah,
got home. What did you see from the Suns this season? Obviously, we didn't expect them to acquire Kevin Durant in season, but when they got him, he was hurt, and then he re-injured himself. And
yeah,
I don't know why they say this stuff. Well, if it's the playoffs, he would have played. Well, screw you to all the guys that just bought a regular season ticket then, right? I mean, I sometimes when they say some of that stuff, I wonder where the lack of awareness is. But the Suns got home. What did you think of the Phoenix Suns season overall?
I thought that Phoenix definitely had a topsy-turvy season. As you said, they started fast. They got to the point where they started really having some down times during the All-Star time of the season, and then they picked it back up, and then they made the massive trade for KD, and that changed everything. And as you said, make them instant contenders. Why they say that about that he would have played if it's the playoffs is because this is all media driven, man. The players have realized now that they don't get any props from the media unless they win championships. So it's just a business model, like most things in America has changed. And these athletes are now looking at the bottom line because the media has created a bottom line. You get no props if you can't win a championship. And when we were growing up, it wasn't like that. This didn't really start until after Michael Jordan won the six championships that everyone started really counting rings like that. Um, People were great players. They were looked at as great players. Now that's what it's all about. So since that's what it's all about, that's these superstars' major focus. So I think that's what they meant by that. Like Katie's, like it's not going to get out there and push himself for something that's the media's not going to show him any love for or act like he did anything. And it's sad, but it's the people who are affected is the consumer, and that's us as the fans. But yeah, the Suns 52 and a half. I really knew that they would go under because Chris Paul's a year older. I don't know if he'll be back next year. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you was telling me about? You think Kyrie Irving might end up over there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he were to end up down in Phoenix here in the offseason. Uh, the matchup with Luca really didn't seem to fit right off the bat. He's already full of stuff, didn't bother showing up to the exit
Yeah,
interview. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just decide to move in a different direction. I know that they'll say, oh, well, they lost the trade, but it really isn't too much. I mean, yes, Dorian Finney-Smith is a good player. Spencer Dinwiddie's all right, but they're both replaceable. And you lost one first round pick in like 2029. And you made a gamble and you lost. But what's really bad, right? And we know this in our gambling experience too, right? What do rookie bettors that do that we don't do? When they have a bad day, they double down and they try and get it back, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And I just go, oh, too bad. The Pelicans didn't get it done for us tonight. Let me get back to my process and get back at it tomorrow, right? We're not chase betting a live Yankees bet or something, right? To
Right,
make all the
right.
money back. Don't chase your bad bet here, Dallas Mavericks. I wouldn't be surprised if he just moved on and went to Phoenix. Maybe there's some sort of sign and trade.
Oh man, Dallas might be falling apart because I wouldn't be surprised if Luka wants out of there as well. So they might not get either one of those guys back. I know he's saying all of the right things at the press conference, but it just was weird how that season ended
It's
with
hard
Dallas.
to give him up, right?
Yeah.
Remember when
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant wanted to be traded to the Bulls? There's certain guys that you're just like, no.
That means they're going to probably move out for Jason Kidd.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he had a good opportunity this year, and a couple things that he did. When you say, "Hey, I'm watching just like you guys," that's a tough quote to overcome, right? No, you're not watching just like us. Me and you are just watching. He's able to change the rotations, change the plans.
Jason Kidd is a rarity. We rarely see guys who were as talented and superstars like him become good coaches, and that's why I think he's having problems getting to that extra, level because they don't really understand why guys can't do some of the things that they're requesting because they always could,
Yeah. So we'll see what goes on there, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns had another star under their belt there. I went with the Milwaukee Bucks season total over 52.5 wins. That one cashed. Very happy to see that. And Milwaukee, I think, is a team that, talk about the NBA and the small markets. Like Stephen A. Smith is on there just openly talking about he roots for Miami and LA because he wants to go party there. And hey, congrats to him for being open about it. But I think there's a lot of other media members and league officials who feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
So now, Milwaukee consistently gets overlooked. Even in the MVP talk, Giannis had the best record in the NBA. He averaged like 30, 10, and 5 on over 55% true shooting. One of the first people to do that since Shaq, and he's third. You're telling me if he wasn't in New York, he wouldn't have been the MVP. So that's where I think it's tough here for a team like Milwaukee, but we'll continue to take advantage of it as bettors because they're going to continue to be overlooked because they're not in the glamorous market and it's not necessarily exciting, right? Like even, going back to our old Kobe, right? Kobe's more fun to watch than Shaq.
Yeah.
Right. A big guy just running and dunking. It's not as fun as watching a guy like Kyrie Irving, right? Or De'Aaron Fox, or a guy that we can relate to a little bit more. So that's fine with me. Continue to underestimate the Bucks, and I'll just continue cashing tickets.
That's right.
One that we missed was the Houston Rockets, and that was we had them over 23.5 games, and really the lack of development struggled for that team. I think we both like Steven Silas, and we let maybe our personal feelings get in the way because we want him to be a good coach.
Yeah, he's such a likable dude.
Yeah, he's a good role model. He's got the NBA pedigree. I remember watching Paul Silas roam the sideline, but this wasn't the right team for him, right? And maybe he needs a little more experience. And I'm not ready to even write off his coaching careers. How many coaches have we seen come back from bad experiences, right? And end up, learning from them. So I'd love to see him get another opportunity, but he needs to sit on a bench, and he needs to sit on a bench with a guy like Thibodeau, like a disciplinarian, right? I felt the team lacked accountability, and I felt that's the reason we didn't catch that bet. You had Jabari Smith yelling at him to take players out when they were failing to execute their defensive assignments. Your rookies holding the star players more accountable than your head coach, that's a problem. So Houston's going to have a new coach this offseason, and Silas is going to get some reps as an assistant. And like I said, hopefully he gets under a guy like Darvin Ham, Monty Williams, Tom Thibodeau, a guy that really preaches accountability and follows through.
Yeah, that was a tough one because they end up getting it 22, so we only failed 2 games short, and I could name about 10 games they should have won. Um,
Mhm.
as you said, Coach Silas came into Houston um, thinking that he was going to be coaching Harden and Westbrook, and ended up having like a bunch of throwaways and Harden and a bunch of young guys, So it wasn't what he signed up for, and it ended up changing into from being him coaching vets, what he's used to coaching, and to him having to deal with, a lot of development and young guys who are just immature. And he has the type of personality uh, that will be ran over easily by a kid who doesn't, unless a kid has his own self accountability. Um, Coach Silas is a real mild mannered guy, so people tend to take advantage of that, especially cute kids when they're young and wild and dumb, So the Rocks have a lot of growing to do, especially from KPJ. Even though he settled down a lot, he still plays on the floor with a lot of bad decision making, a lot of emotions. Takes a lot of shots that he shouldn't take. He's gotten better as the year ended, but did he really, or is he really just trying to make himself look like a point guard in order to keep his job next year? Um, that's probably the biggest split in the Houston fan base is their opinion of KPJ. There she is.
Yeah,
That's probably
Dustin wanted
the
to talk about the playoffs too.
yeah. So that's the biggest thing with the Rockets, man. It's just developing, man. I was the only one. You remember last year's spread? I was in the offseason. I wanted them to get Jalen Brunson really bad, and I didn't hear anyone else really in Houston sports talk about that. But Jalen Brunson could have settled this team down, and this team probably would have made the playoffs if they would have signed a point guard like him, because that's what's missing on this team. This team needs a veteran point guard that can unlock the other guys. There's a lot of talk that Harden might come back. I would love to see it. Um, they back in the lottery. Hopefully, they get a chance to get a really good pick. And I think that the team is on the right road, but this is one of the biggest hires in franchise history with the coach. They have to go with someone, like you said, that's a disciplinarian that's going to make these kids accountable. My personal opinion, I would like to see Emi Udoka there. If not Emi Udoka, then I would like to go right across the street and get Calvin Sampson to leave University of Houston and come back to the professional um, basketball association and coach the Rockets, because he would be perfect for developing these guys, because he's going to make you play defense. So you're going to sit your butt down. So I just think that the Rocks have a lot of talent. And the thing that I can say is Jalen Green has really turned the corner as far as in wanting to be accountable on defense effort. He's very competitive. Him and Jabari. Also, I really like Josh Christopher. Those are guys I think you latch on to. I like Alpha Sagoon, but Sagoon will always be kind of like your guy in Sacramento, Sabonis, where he could put up the offensive numbers and he's going to be versatile and really open up the offense. But on defense, he'll always be a liability. But his offense is so talented, you're going to need what he can bring on the floor, because his plus minus will still be always really high because of his just great ability to open up the floor and pass the ball, rebound, offensive rebound, and score. Even though, like I said, he struggles on defense. So I think the future's pretty bright for the Rockets, depending on the hire. The hire is very important. It's no way that they can go with Scott Brooks. If they get Scott Brooks, just they're going to be the same
They're
situation
not
again
going with
next year.
Scott Brooks.
Oh man, they're crying for him in Houston. There's a lot of people
Well,
who
who
want.
would
He
want
used to play
Scott
point
Brooks?
guard. I would hope they don't, but his name is being thrown out there. I'm hearing Nick Nurse, Scott Brooks, and Emil Doka.
One of those things is not like the other.
I all three. Nick
two,
Nick Nurse
two of them
maybe,
are
and the reason why.
championship calibers guys, and one guy's
Right.
known for not even having a good work ethic as a head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want
That would
Scott
be a
Brooks.
disaster. It would be the same thing
Scott Brooks
over
with
again.
those kids, it'll be the same thing over again.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
I don't think that
But most
happens.
of the real Rockets Twitter is saying the same thing you're saying, Spread. Like, if you're going to hire Scott Brooks, you guys should have just kept Silas, because it's the same thing.
Yeah,
But
it might even be
for
worse.
those kids' sake, let's hope that Emi Udoka likes living in Houston and decides to take that job and gets his shot again at being a head coach and can build with this team.
Or Nick Nurse. I think those are both two good options. I'd say of the four teams in the lottery, the Rockets have the most talent right now. You're going to
Yeah,
add another piece. They're the ones that I would say of the bottom four teams. So it'd be what the Pistons, Hornets, Rockets, Spurs.
yeah,
If I were to bet, I'd say the Rockets would be the first one to make the playoffs out of those.
definitely. And the Spurs,
And I
they would
put
definitely be
Pistons
the
second. I like
yeah.
the Pistons little squad they got.
Yeah,
I
the
think Jaden
Pistons are
Ivey's going to
feisty.
be pretty good.
Jaden Ivey's
Hey,
going to be an all-star. He's real
and
feisty. I just would be interested to see how him and Cunningham match. It should be really good because Kay Cunningham's a really smart player and
that's what I
Ivy's
think
smart as
too.
well.
I don't
So
think
I
they're
think
going
that
to have
they're
an
going to play.
issue.
Yeah, I think they're going to play really good together. They're going to be a factor. But the Rockets, they have a problem. KPJ is an enigma because his numbers, he's like leads the league in catch and shoot 3-pointers. He puts up all these numbers, but if you watch the game, you see that he makes some mistakes in some crucial parts of the game that are just really hurting the Rocks and holding them back. And also, I don't like how as a point guard how he kind of leads the team. He doesn't, need to show the type of leadership that I think these kids need to have. So he's the enigma. He's kind of like Russell Westbrook, where he can play, but he's also hurt you when he's on the court. So that's going to be whatever coach comes in. I like them to trade him. He's a great trade bait right now. I think he would do well with a team with a more structure. Like if they could trade him to the Heat, he'll probably be a star over there. Trade him, get rid of him. They need to get rid of him and get some shooters.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I don't think he's the right fit for that team. And he needs to be on a veteran team where his
Yeah,
teammates are going to hold him accountable, not
yeah,
just his coach. Let's move on to the present. The
yeah,
play-in tournament begins tonight. And we have one fun matchup.
yeah.
We would have
We
had two
got
fun
two, man.
matchups.
We got two. We have
It
two.
would have been a lot more fun if Sunday didn't happen. I don't know how that
I
got.
don't
Let's
know.
let's
That might
start.
be the setup. That might
I,
be the
I,
setup.
I would please. I would love to see that. Let's talk about though first. The Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young are going to travel down to Miami to take on the Heat. These teams know each other well. Obviously they're in the same division, so they played each other 4 times this season. They played each other last year in the playoffs, where the Miami Heat were able to prevail 4-1. Interesting series there. I know that a lot of people downgraded Trae Young for that, where it felt like, they talk about, taking your heart. I mean, Miami really seemed to take things away from Trae, and he felt like he was going through the motions there at the end of the series last season. Obviously, the statistics from this season aren't going to show that, but we know from coaching and just the top players they have, that Miami defense can be suffocating when they're all on the same page. These teams know each other well. I think that's advantage for the Heat because I do like Eric Spoelstra more as a coach. And of course, we know that Jimmy Butler, it's getting to the point where I feel that for a while, I felt like he was overrated and now he's become
Mhm.
underrated.
Yeah,
As the team's kind of fallen in the standings, it's like he's like an MVP candidate when the Heat are doing well, and then he doesn't even make All NBA, and they're the
yeah,
seventh seed. I don't think that his play has fluctuated that much. One thing about Butler is one of the most efficient players in the league, and the idea there is he shoots a high percentage, and he doesn't have turnovers. Yet he handles the ball a lot, so you have to give him credit there. Bam Adebayo's a versatile defender. He's another guy that I felt gets underlooked. Like last year when the Heat had a really good record, he was Defensive Player of the Year candidate. This year he's not talked about at all. You watch the games, he hasn't changed much as a defender. So other than the record, right? I don't know why he's not getting the credit for being the same defensive player. And we know that they're going to try and get the ball out of Trae Young's hands. That's what they've done all season. Trae Young's season low came against the Miami Heat this season, where he only scored 8 points in one of the games. So, in my idea, if the Hawks are to get this upset, right, Trey's of course going to have a good game because we know he can score even against the best defenses. But he's going to need that supporting cast to help him out. You're going to need to see a big game from DeJounte Murray. This is why we traded 3 draft picks to bring you in. We're going to need to see a good game from Bogdanovich, another guy who can get hot from behind the arc and give that Miami defense problems. We'll need to see a good game from DeAndre Hunter and of course, Clint Capella. That being said, I think this is a tough task for an Atlanta Hawks team that I don't really believe in. So for money line, I like the Heat. One thing about the Heat, though, they don't win by margin. They're one of the
Yeah.
lowest scoring teams in the league, and that means that your winning margins are also going to be lower because they give up some of the fewest points and score some of the fewest points. So if I had to approach this, I would take the +5. I don't love that play because I would hate to see you being in that number and then for just to foul through. It kind of reminds
Yeah.
me of that first week in the NFL playoffs, right? They put all the numbers between 5.5 and 6.5. They don't want to go through the 7. It felt like, there's only one game in these plans that they went through the 6, which is a key number for me here. And that's the next game that we're going to talk about. I lean the Hawks. I don't love it. I do think the Heat get the win, though. What are your thoughts?
This was going to be a tough one to handicap, man, because neither one of these teams are really good against the spread. You got the Heat of 6-27-1 against the spread in their last 34 games following against the spread win. They're 2-9 against the spread in their last 11 games, following a straight up win of more than 10 points. Like you said, all their games are close. They rarely blow people out. But then you have the Hawks on the other hand, who are 11-27 against the spread in their last 38 road games versus a team with a home winning percentage of greater than 600. So this is just a real uh, going to be an edgy matchup. But as you said, we as sports bettors and handicappers, we're going to always take the points. Like taking the points is always the move. If it's a toss up, you always take what the house is giving out with the points on this one. Um, in the ball and parlay, I get into a bit later. I'm going to talk about the total for Trey Young. That's what I'm giving out actually for the bonus. But as a side, just like I said, this is going to be a real tricky one. We know that Trey Young, as you said, has struggled against Miami more than any other team. But I'm into reading media narratives, and it's been a lot of talk. Everyone's piling on playoff Jimmy and how much Trey Young's going to struggle. And if you listen to the public, you would think that the Hawks don't have a chance here. But the Hawks is really a more talented starting five than Miami has, if you really look at it. And Young, and what I mean by young is not Trey Young, but age. If you got two teams that are matching up and they're both the same, I like the younger guy when the younger guy and the older guy are the same. So we'll see how it goes, but I would definitely lean the points. I would not want to lay 5 with Miami, especially coming off the emotions of everything they just did with the Haslam game and stuff at home.
Yeah. So we agree there, but hey, we got to give these guys credit, right? They're not going to make mistakes, especially not this time of year when they're only putting 2 games on the board and all the, college is over. All the attention is
Yeah,
focused on the NBA is the bigger handle. I give credit to the books here. Good line
yeah,
here as they put the Hawks at +5, just enough to tempt you to take it.
yeah.
But I don't want to
Perfect
run to the
line.
window.
Yeah, you
Um,
don't want to run to the window at all.
the Timberwolves are +8.5. They're in Los Angeles. They're taking on the Lakers. And the reason I'm disappointed in this game is not because of Rudy Gobert, right?
Yeah,
And I'm sure you have thoughts about that, and I'd love to hear it. So we'll go to you for that. But with Jaden McDaniels breaking his hand, that's what really killed my excitement
yep,
for the Timberwolves to get the outright win here, right? And I still think you can make a good argument for them to cover. I mean, they're playing with house money. They have absolutely nothing to lose. Nobody believes in them at all. And there's going to be certain deficiencies that they're going to be able to exploit. Now, I know that we're going to talk about the D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley, right? And those guys with the revenge narrative.
yeah.
But there'll also be a Chris Finch revenge narrative, too, where he said, hey, I saw you bust up my defensive schemes over and over again all year. I'm going to turn around and run a bunch of plays to make you do that for Los Angeles as well. The thing is with Jaden McDaniels, he gave them another perimeter defender. He's probably a little better than Ant at this point. I think Ant's probably got more potential, but as of right now, he's a better perimeter defender. And without him there, it's going to be too easy to get the switches that they want for LeBron and Anthony Davis. I felt that, with both of them out there, you could let one roam, pick up LeBron here and there, give him space. I think he's going to have too much room to go downhill. And then, of course, we talked earlier when Naz Reid got hurt. That hurt that team a lot as well. They're going to be missing depth inside. The Lakers are a bigger team, right? LeBron's a big forward, right? He's a power forward at this point of his career. And Anthony Davis should be able to go down low. Now, to be fair, 8.5, I think is probably too much. I think everybody's counting the Timberwolves out because of all this drama. But it also might bring the team together, right? We saw when Gobert got kicked off the sideline, the team was down 6 to 8 points. They end up winning the game, right?
Yep.
So they're plus 11. It's only one half of basketball, right? But they seem to play better without him on the floor there, right? So I don't think losing Gobert is that bad a deal. McDaniel's the one that hurts, but I still think 8.5 is too much. I'm going to grab the points with the Timberwolves here. Once again, don't love it though, because this Lakers team, since the All-Star break and since they made that trade, they've been the best defensive team in the league, and they're like number 3 in net rating, right? So you just look at them, and they're a true championship contender. I'll take the points. Don't love it, but I like it better than taking the Hawks +5. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I like the Timberwolves plus the 8.5. It's gonna be hard to lay double digits practically. What you're saying is double digits. With the Lakers, they play a lot of close games. You saw by the last game when they won in Utah, they like to
Yeah.
play a lot of close ones. They keep get teams in the game unnecessarily. All my basketball guys, a couple more of my guys, my little brother, um, 3, who loves the NBA like you do. The first thing he said is it doesn't even matter about Gobert. It's Jaden McDaniels. He said the same exact thing that you said. He said that he gives them problems with LeBron, and he also is a guy that they leave unguarded at the 3 and he can kill you. He makes big shots when they need him to come through. I've been watching Jaden McDaniels since Washington. He's a special kid. I always been a tough kid. He always wears his attitude and the scowl, and he uses that energy on the defensive side of the ball, and is a real competitive player. And like you said, he's one of those guys. I think that Ant, that's his dog when it comes to, on the court. Like that's the guy he trusted, get down and dirty with him. So he's gonna be missed. But Cat's gonna try to step into that role. I really believe that because he's one of those guys, I don't care too much for Cat at all. You know that I don't like. I think he's one of those guys who's kind of corny. But what I can say is that he does give effort and he doesn't shy away from trying to beat the guy. So if he's having one of those nights, he can help them. As you said, they came back against the Pelicans after Gobert was thrown out, and it was really because Cat Town stepped up. He had 3 big threes in a row against them, and that changed the whole momentum of that game against the Pelicans. And also, I could see the Timberwolves. They could, go with uh, go small on the Lakers easily and allow Torian Prince to try to body up. He's a grimy. He gives defensive effort on really hard. He plays one of those guys who can switch really well and play down low or out top on the wing. I think Torian Prince is in the lineup tonight with Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Kyle Anderson, and Cat, and they try to make Anthony Davis come out to the perimeter and like choose somebody to pick up, and that's where they're going to have problems because now the driving lanes will be open for them. They can get the rim protector from the rim, which they can with Cat, because Cat, you have to respect his 3-point shot. Torian Prince, he's a 3-point shooter. That's what he's going to do. He's going to go to the corner. So if the T Wolves get hot behind the line, because they're going to get opportunities, as you and I know, the Lakers play defense, but they're kind of lazy getting out top. They're older guys. They're kind of lazy running out to the 3-point line and closing out. So if the Timberwolves can hit their 3-pointers, they're going to get the looks. Then they can definitely stay in this game and maybe even win this game. Lakers, as you said, been the best team going down the stretch, 17-7. The big uh, part of that trade for me was Russell Westbrook getting out of there and them replacing him with D'Angelo Russell. Like that's one of the biggest upgrades we've seen in NBA history, because D'Angelo Russell is everything that Russell Westbrook is in that point guard. He's patient. He's really smart. He runs the pick and roll fabulously. He's a dead-eye 3-point shooter. When he's left open, he doesn't miss. So, and he doesn't turn the ball over, So they made a complete upgrade with that, added more shooters with Beasley and Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt plays really good on the defensive side. He's a Houston kid, actually, too. He's a close friend of one of my real good buddies, man, Murph. So Murph is like his designer, does all his clothes and travels with him and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that the Lakers can do win tonight. Most likely in the fourth quarter they can get it done, but I do think that Minnesota sticks around and does have a real chance of winning this game. As I said, don't count out Cat having a big game and Anthony Edwards having a big game. They still have 2 of the better players in the NBA on the roster. It's just them figuring out how to run together, and they won't miss Gobert at all. So I'm with you. Timberwolves plus 8.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the plus 8.5. To me, for Anthony Edwards is the X factor here. If the
Yeah,
Timberwolves actually get the upset, he's going to be the best player on the floor, right? He'll drop
right,
40, and I actually think he can do it. Now, do I think he will? No, like a 20% chance. But I mean, like, for example, I don't think Brandon Ingram could do that, right?
right.
Or even Shea. So Timberwolves are alive, even though I do think it's a low probability. I mean, I haven't seen it's about minus 400, which is about that 20% chance of Anthony
They're
Edwards.
really live because you, as you said, we know the Lakers are overbet. The Lakers and the Warriors are bet ridiculously in
Right.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Like you know that like the Lakers and the Warriors get the
I think
most
the
money.
Warriors are bad in Vegas. You should see them in Reno.
Yeah, they get the most
The line
money in.
is 2 points different than what
Exactly.
you got down there. Nobody's betting against the Warriors in Northern California.
Everyone's taking the Lakers tonight, so I'm gonna ride with the house. Hopefully, it's up to like 9 before the game. But I have, as we get into the future, I have the Lakers to win the title that I bought it plus 2,500 um, during the season. Remember, I got it when I thought that they were going to trade for Kyrie, so I was
Yeah,
down when I first
traded
got
into
the
being
ticket.
better.
Yeah, it ended up being an even better trade that I got. Yeah, and I ended up getting it now. So now it's at current value of plus 1,400. You got the books, man. What do you think about your ticket?
Uh, yeah, I mean, just off what you're saying for the Lakers, you don't need to cover spreads to win titles. I mean, and when LeBron won in 2016, I
Yeah,
don't think they covered any of those wins. Now,
no,
obviously, in against the Warriors, right? But
right.
on the way, they beat the
Every
Raptors, but they covered,
Indiana,
right?
it was
Yeah, but
barely.
we're
Yeah,
yeah, they were
yeah,
winning
yeah,
Indiana by one
yeah,
point
yeah,
as 8-point
yeah,
dogs, right? So
yeah,
it would be the first time that LeBron lifted a trophy, and the rest of us lifted a bunch of money betting against him on the spread. I love my
yeah,
Bucks ticket right now. Obviously, there was a great time to get it in the middle of the season when the Celtics were on fire.
yeah,
They went up to plus 800. Then when the Bucks finished the season strong, now it's back about where I've got it.
yeah.
But I still feel good about that ticket. I'm happy to have it, and I'm not going to hedge off. My idea is I think the East is going to win this thing. I think the only team that can win from the West is Phoenix. I
Hmm.
think if Phoenix gets to the NBA Finals, they could test either the Sixers, the Celtics, or the Bucks. I mean, I guess you could throw the Cavaliers in there. I don't believe in them yet. But yeah, I love the way the Bucks team is playing. You get, in my mind, it's still the best player in the world, Giannis. We're just talking about the ability to take over a playoff game. He showed that against the Phoenix series. Huge blocks with the games on the line. It feels to me like he's the best conditioned of these superstars. I feel like I'm going to get a great effort from him. He's not going to wear down in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. And even in the famous game that everybody brings up, everyone brings up that Kevin Durant's toes on the line. They don't bring up that Giannis completely took over in overtime, was
Yeah,
completely fresh. What KD, and you can blame Nash for that because Budenholzer had rested Giannis while Nash put KD out there for 48 minutes.
yeah,
But regardless, he had the strength and the stamina to still come through. He scores 8 of their 10 points, and they win that game in Brooklyn, right? So
yeah,
this will be their first time they would actually get to host a game 7 at home. That they have home court advantage. To me, the Celtics, of course, will be the biggest test. I do like the way that they match up. They're going to need a big performance from Chris Middleton if that's going to happen. And there's two guys on each side, right? Chris Middleton and Klay Thompson, where we've seen it from them in the past, but they've suffered injuries, and we're
yeah.
not sure if they're the same guys. And I think that both of
Clay looks
them
good. Clay looks good.
on offense, but he's
Yeah.
not
Oh
the
yeah.
same defensive
Oh no,
stopper. So it's
no,
gotten to the
no.
point where he needs to
Yeah.
be good on offense to justify being on the floor. Same with Middleton. He was the stopper for the team when they won the title 2 years ago. I don't know
Yep.
if he's that same guy. He's going to have to be effective from the floor. But I really like the way the Bucks are. There's all these teams are flawed. There's no perfect team. This is kind of the lowest regular season win totals that we've seen, right? No 60-win teams. No one's truly dominant. I like my Bucks ticket. You have the Lakers ticket. I mean, that's fantastic. And you can't hate on that. And, maybe a hedge opportunity for you. I'm trying to think. So let's see. Let's assume they go 7. I wouldn't hedge till the conference finals against Phoenix. That's the first team I'd hedge against.
Yeah.
If they win tonight, they play Memphis. Let it ride there. I mean, obviously you can lose. Memphis is kind of an underrated team at this point.
Super underrated. Them and the
For a number 2
Sixers.
seed, we never talk about them.
Sixers and the Grizzlies are very underrated in these playoffs, and both of them have some guys with some things to prove. Because Jaren Jackson's playing the best ball of his career for Memphis. We're
Right.
seeing him really step up and actually be a 2. We know what Ja Morant does in the playoffs. He's always been an extremely high performer in the playoffs. Then you have the Sixers. I just was listening to somebody today, and they were speaking about the fact that Embiid is the one of the few great players that has never been to a conference final. So you remember what happened with the 3-pointer by Kawhi Leonard that knocked him out in Toronto. It's all about, as you said, the foot 1 inch from KD. These are so small of margins that these teams win by. And if the
Right.
Sixers get the right breaks this year, don't be surprised if the Sixers can get there and lift that title, because they do have what I feel is 1A, B, and C as the best players in the league. He's right there with Giannis and Jokic, and I think those 3 right now have separated themselves, with KD losing a step, but still right there underneath them. LeBron a year older and can't play a lot of defense, and AD is going back up into that realm again, and we'll see if he can have a playoff run like he's had before with New Orleans and he had during the bubble when we were looking at him as a top 5 player in the league.
Yeah, so that should be fun. I wouldn't hedge against Memphis though. I mean, if you lose there, you lose. I just don't want to lose too much value if they actually win it all, right?
I'll be asking you, I'll be texting you, get your
Yeah.
opinion on what to do, because it could become a golden ticket.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that makes it tough to hedge is because you will not have home court.
Nope.
You can't just fall behind 1-0 and get the better price on the
Yep.
hedge. So,
Yep.
maybe if the Lakers stole game 1 in Memphis, you could start to think about a hedge, but I would probably let that one ride. So, hey, we're sitting on 2 tickets that we love. We have all-time great players, and the teams are playing well. And we have 2 of the best defenses in the league. I mean, nobody talks about defense anymore because of daily fantasy and stuff. But I like both of our teams' abilities to lock down. I mean, we talked about D'Angelo Russell's defensive weaknesses earlier, but they don't need him out there, right?
No.
When it comes to closing games, they don't need that offense. It's a luxury. So I really like both teams. And I think that Darvin Ham is underrated as a coach.
He's been on that Buck staff the whole journey.
Yeah.
So
we might be playing each other there in the finals.
That'd be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I got one for him. Right. Yep. Trae Young over 24.5 points.
All right. I told you my concerns about that earlier, but you go ahead and let everyone know why you like that.
Okay, so the reason why we're going to go with Trae Young over, I know last 7 you've talked to me before on the phone about how Miami has really contained Trae Young. He's averaging 21 points on 40% shooting, only 32% from the 3-point line in 17 career games against Miami. In 4 games this year, he only had 19 points, 35% shooting, 20% from the 3-point line. So they really take away his 3-ball. We know they get the ball out of his hand early. It's no wonder that Miami's 3-1 against Atlanta. And Young shoots 43.7% from the floor against everyone else in the league, and 35% from the 3-point line. You see his numbers are completely lower when he faced the Heat, the greatness of air exposure. But I truly believe that the playoffs are about superstars and greatness. And I think that with this being a standalone game and the whole world's going to be watching, Trae Young is just a performer. He's one of those guys who can step up and give you something special when it matters the most. He loves the spotlight. He's not afraid of the spotlight. Even bigger today for him, news hit. You think that this was just a coincidence that it came out today that the ownership group for Atlanta gave the GM full power to do anything they want to do with the roster, and they made sure to stay including trade Trey Young right before this game. So he has a lot of pressure on him because as a young African American kid from a little small town like Oklahoma, you can believe he's living his best life living in Atlanta. Atlanta is where you want to be, if you're someone getting money like he is and playing a game that you love. It's a great place to live, and I'm sure that he doesn't want to be traded. Now, maybe if he would have got drafted by the Mavs, like at first half, that would have been cool for him because that would have been really close to where he grew up outside of Oklahoma City. But yeah, I don't think that Trey Young wants to move from Atlanta. I think if anything, that news hit because it was like a warning shot to him, like, hey, Trey, we need you to step up and show us something in this playoffs. We feel like we have the right coach in Quinn Snyder. Now, let's see if we have the right superstar. Can you give us what you've given us before? Because we've seen the Hawks outperform expectations in the playoffs the last few years, and it's all been driven by Trey Young and his greatness. And I think that 24.5 is a really small number for a player of his magnitude, and especially with everyone saying what Miami's going to do to him and how they're going to stop him. I think Trey has a big game tonight. I think that he actually gets over 30, but the 24.5, we're going to shoot for that, and that's going to be my pick for the Ball and Parlay tonight.
All right. We talked about it earlier, but I'm going with the Timberwolves plus 8.5. We do like taking points, especially in playoff games. Hey, these could be low totals. Now, one of the reasons normally we play the unders, but I noticed with these play-ins, it's not the same as the normal regular season, normal first game of the playoffs, right? So, for example, when we do the show Friday, I'll expect we might be targeting some unders for the weekend. But that's because to have the best records in the league, you need to have the best defenses in the league, right? I mean, people just want to watch the dribble tricks and watch the ball go through the hoop, but that's what it comes down to, right? So now when you have teams like Milwaukee, Boston, right, clamping down, even Memphis can play some really good defense, right? More likely to go under. With these playing teams, a lot of times the defense is the reason they're not 7 through 10. Now with Miami, I'd say it's because of the offense. Right? They're the exception that proves the rule. But for the rest of these teams, their inability to defend is why they're going to be playing tonight and tomorrow night. So I'm not going to take unders here like I usually do, but I do lean towards the under. And we all know the lower the game goes, the more valuable these points become. We talked about it earlier, but I'm on the Timberwolves plus 8.5.
All right, so Spread's going with Timberwolves plus 8.5. Actually, we both are on that one. And then I'm going with Trey Young to be a superstar tonight and go over a low 24.5 point total. Hey guys, we appreciate you for tuning in. We're back in action. We're going to be here every day throughout the playoffs, Monday through Friday. We got a long road through this NBA playoffs, but it's going to be one of the most interesting seasons ending playoffs that we've seen, with the fact that there's no clear favorite in this one. It's kind of just like the NCAA tournament just was, where anyone can win, and all they have to do is get hot. So I look forward to it. Anything for the people, Spread, before we get out of here?
No, I'm excited for these games and all the attention the NBA is going to get. Let's cash some tickets.
All right, let's cash some tickets, y'all. Best of luck to you tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow.